2022 was a huge year for Funkin modding. As each year progresses, we learn more and more about the ins and outs of the Funkin engine, and just how far we can take it. From the mastery of in-game mechanics to entirely new ones from the ground up. We Funkin fans have been absolutely spoiled by this past year. Today, I'd like to cover some of my favorites from 2022. The criteria for this list is that the mod has to have been released or majorly updated in 2022. And I also have to have played it. Those of you that are gonna watch this and go off in the comments like, oh, we didn't even mention Versus Splipply. Where's Versus Splipply? It has the Glelblore mechanic, it's the best mod. To that I say, what are you talking about? This list is also not in any particular order, sort of shuffled together for pacing reasons, except for number 1, which is genuinely my favorite mod of the year. Alright, enough opening, let's get into it. When week 6 of the base game was released, it was the first edition of pixel stages to Funkin, a feature many modders would use in their own creations. While numerous mods pull off the pixelated art style well, it's often used as a one-song gimmick or mid-song event, and that's about it. So when Funk Mix Deluxe came along, I was genuinely impressed. Finally, a mod that not only uses the pixel graphics throughout its entirety, but also complements it by heavily sticking to a specific art style. Since Funk Mix is basing itself on the NES graphics, the color palette and aspect ratio both reflect the console, giving a feeling of authenticity to the mod, right down to the UI. That's not even mentioning the music, which utilizes NES and chiptune sounding tracks to bring out the life in the character and environments. A mod like this can only come out due to a love of the source material, which is a big part of why it made this list. Witty is a classic mod character that made the return in February of last year after their original mod was made private. It's widely accepted that Versus Witty was the first mod character to gain immense popularity, and that its inspirations are still felt within the modding community even 2 years after its initial release. Versus Witty Definitive Edition contains the classic Witty Week, as well as some new faces to the mix like Witty from Another Universe, Julian, and some reskins for the Siva Gunner rips. Now, believe it or not, Witty isn't actually number 9 on this list. I only felt it was appropriate to mention them because it ties directly into the actual mod I want to talk about. Twinsomnia, or Versus Boy and Girl, is another mod that was released last year by Sawclip and Nate Animate, the creators of Versus Witty. Just like Witty, Versus Boy and Girl was believed to be a scrapped concept, but made a surprise release with new designs and new lore. As opposed to Witty, who's a mod character that actually seems to belong in the base game, Twinsomnia stands on its own. The storybook-styled cutscenes, dreamlike atmosphere, and heavy synth track are all unique staples of this mod. What Twinsomnia lacks in quantity is made up in quality, with 4 banging tracks, each better than the last. Personally, I still listen to the final song Boogeyman from time to time. It's my favorite track of the mod. Though I've covered Graffiti Groovin relatively recently, it still takes a spot in my top 10 simply due to the love and attention to detail the creator RetchiTV has put into it. Clearly, they have a profound respect for the base game, placing little nods and Easter eggs to characters and animations throughout the mod. The headlining character Scarlet Bunny is another character that genuinely feels like they belong in the base game, and for me was a refreshing breath of air that scratched the itch I had for well-made OC character mods. Scarlet's appearance alongside other base Funkin characters feels natural, and the funky fresh tracks reminiscent of Funkin's inspirations like Jet Set Radio gives a whole lot of heart to the soundtrack. All in all, great mod. I'm sad there's no plans for any large future update, but single song updates like the most recent edition of Trickmas is a welcome addition that warrants a replay. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Everyone and their grandma has made a Pibby mod, I get it. Everyone has added a glitch filter to some pre-existing sprite sheets and made a 3-chord song in FL Studio and spammed the track with the blam lights. To the point where adding that event in Psych Engine now comes with a "this is overused" warning, I know. But when Jake Neutron's Dusk Till Dawn dropped, I knew I had to make a video on the Pibby phenomenon. And I was genuinely surprised at what I found. Competent single song mod that's just as memorable as it is challenging. This was my gateway into the Pibby sect of the Funkin community, and I'm genuinely excited to see where Slash Pibby picks up and expands the rest of the story of Dusk Till Dawn. Slash Pibby's director has largely influenced another Pibby mod, Pibby Corrupted, as that mod uses Jake Neutron's designs and songs for a few of its tracks, meaning if you want a taste of what's to come with Slash Pibby, consider Pibby Corrupted a sort of demo. One of the goals of the Funkin Full-Ass Game Kickstarter was the addition of online multiplayer, a feature we get a taste of in Online Versus. Now I know technically this is a fan game and not a mod, but it's now well-known offline challenges are too good to pass up for this list. You've probably noticed a trend with this list at this point. If a mod feels like it belongs in the base game, then it's a very likely contender, and you'd be right. The attention to detail that goes into these offline challenges are some of the truest adaptations of what could be in the base game from what I've seen as a Funkin fan. The crossovers with Newgrounds characters are true to the source material, while also feeling fresh. The fact that the song actually changes beyond the charting based on difficulty is such a cool idea. And the fact that they hand out characters as rewards for completing these tracks makes actually beating them feel incredibly rewarding. I love flexing in the lobby with Tord, it's the best. If you told me back in 2011 that Sonic.exe would suddenly become relevant again over 10 years later, I would probably have said, who are you? How do you know where I live? For some of you, Sonicexe never left, but for me, when I heard that there was a massive Funkin mod about it, I was kind of blindsided. Version 2.5/3.0 of versus Sonicexe was dropped when the project was cancelled, but regardless, still contained a bunch of new and updated content from its previous version for fans to enjoy. It's a very influential mod as well, spawning fan mods and covers like the ones featured in Indy Sides. If mods like Versus Rewrite have proven anything, it's that Sonic.exe and its influence isn't going to be left in 2022. You know what's weird to think about? Indy Cross came out last year. Honestly, it was so early in 2022 that this mod dropped that I actually feels way later than that. Indy Cross began as a demo, but eventually saw its full release with 3 weeks of songs, mechanics, bonus tracks, and hard modes on the 8th of April. I think combining beloved indie games like Bendy, Undertale, and Cuphead with Funkin is a recipe for success, considering Funkin is an indie game itself. The amount of care that went into making sure each week felt unique through music, visuals, and mechanics makes playing this mod such a joy. The mid-song dodge and attack mechanic during Cuphead's week feels true to Cuphead, as special attacks are only possible after countering. The different endings of Sansa's week based on how much the player attacked has the exact feeling of Undertale's 2 main endings, Pacifist and Genocide. The immense tension felt during the Bendy week while dodging Butcher Gang attacks and playing between ink notes is very inspired by the source material. Indy Cross actually got me to play Bendy last year, as it was the only game of the 3 I didn't actually know about. I'm super excited for the future of Indy Cross. If you haven't seen it yet, Pankru uploaded a teaser of some of the upcoming tracks like a remastered Snake Eyes and Sensational, as well as a new song called Silk, likely a track from the teased Hollow Knight week. As we approach the 1-year anniversary, I bet we're going to see more teasers and the like. Despite the circumstances in which it came out, Funken Lullaby version 2 was definitely one of the hottest drops of the past year, with its predecessor being incredibly influential in not only the modding scene, but horror mods in general. It's no wonder this was immensely anticipated. I mean, look how many mods have their own cover of Monochrome. Funken Lullaby version 2 takes the original content of version 1 and expands on it, including not only the finale of the creepypasta it's mainly focused on, but also giving spotlight to other stories in the same genre. The addition of currency and a creepy item salesman as opposed to a regular free play menu and cursed cartridges as a story mode gives this sort of eerie linear storytelling to the mod. Even though version 2 was subject to leaks, the final product still exceeded all of our expectations, even while being incomplete for its release. That's all I really have to say about it. I just gotta let you guys know that this is the last creepypasta mod on this list. Alright, next. The number 2 spot on this list is a little unorthodox, but it's my list, so I make the rules. The Sides genre of mods as a whole is an interesting experiment in how the same concept can be executed differently. I'm not saying all these mods are the same, I actually mean the opposite. If we look at B-Sides, it started out as this sort of hard mode for the base game before evolving and having its own unique story. D-Sides is the same in that everything tends to be the opposite of what it is in the base game. I know Neo didn't get updated last year, but it's worth mentioning that having this futuristic neon basis for the mod has made it completely different from other remixes and reskins. Even more recently, Friday Night Funkin' DJX, which adds an extra record scratching mechanic, has so much going for it in terms of freshness and personality. The 4 mods I've mentioned all stand on their own despite having the same basis, which is really something to think about. It's my hope for the future that we not only see updates from these creations, but new ones in the Sides genre of mod, as it feels like everyone has a different take on what it can be. Alright, without further ado, Server-Side Scuffle, the best mod to... I can't even say it with a straight face. Hotline 024 is easily my favorite mod from the past year. From the moment you boot up the mod, you hear Saruki's iconic style of music, masterfully mashing up tracks over freshly made beats. The Hideki no Aganuma style of music is iconic to Hotline and is persistent throughout the mod. The main character, Niku, is an alien who can mimic the voices of people she's heard, opening up the possibility of mashups to infinity. The art is gorgeous, you already know I love the music, and the charting is so much fun to play. The appropriate use of double and triple notes heightens the gameplay not only in a sense of difficulty, but also fun. My favorite track of the whole mod has to be Expurgated. When the track starts, it's a surreal landscape, reminiscent of the stage of the hit mod Versus Tricky. The music starts out sounding like a remix of Versus Tricky's OST, but then quickly turns with the familiar tune of Ballistic from Versus Witty. This whole track is an auditory collage of some of the most well-known mods in the funky community, expertly plucking motifs and voices, stringing them together to weave this song. It may be one of the longest songs on the set list, but doesn't overstay its welcome. This is just one of many examples of the amount of love that went into making this mod. Hotline 024 is the only mod I've gone back and played through again many times, so I think it's earned my place as number 1. And that's my top mods of 2022. I hope you enjoyed. Did your favorite mod make the list? What mods are you most excited for in 2023? Let me know down below. I know I rarely do these opinion piece type of videos, so hopefully you enjoyed my rambling. Alright, thanks for watching. Until next time.